Hollow Knight Silksong is great, and I think it deserves all the accolades it has received. Now that I said that, none of you can be mad at me. Number 1. The map is too damn big. This was also a problem I had in Hollow Knight, but that game's map was smaller and more tightly packed. Even with or without the compass, I need to know where I am, which I still don't like. I didn't get lost nearly at all, but Silksong's map is way bigger and with a lot more dead space to accommodate for the dash power. I may not have gotten lost much, mostly thanks to the areas in Silksong having a lot more variety than the original, but I got sick of a lot of these areas after a while, mostly because it takes longer to get from point A to point B, especially with number 2, the runbacks. Retreading a piece of platforming, no matter how brief, is never fun, and starting the boss without a full health just because of one mistake because you wanted to make it go a little faster is infuriating. And so many of the bosses do this, notably the Savage Bee-Fly, the Last Judge, and Growl the Great with its stupid ass fake bench, fucking jerk. And don't get me started on all the bosses that start with multiple enemies in waves before the boss even starts, which brings me to number 3, the gauntlet fights. This game has a disgusting fetish for locking you in a room and sicking 3 to 4 waves of enemies at you in that area, and it feels as though every area has at least one of these gauntlet fights, and it gets old fast. The original had these too, but nowhere near this amount and way more spread out. I know the High Hell's Gauntlet was the most talked about one when the game came out, and how most people were stuck on it for hours, but being honest, yeah, it took me a few tries, but I think it only took me 45 minutes. At least under an hour, and the one in the Coral Tower, which felt like twice as long, only took me 1 try. I'm not kidding, or bragging. I think I just locked in without realizing it. I think I was stoned or something. Soon, it's not even that I found these to be difficult, I found them lazy, like the devs were crunched for time, but I know that can't be true because they express the opposite of that. And I know what they said about being stuck on a fight. If something feels really hard, maybe that's a sign you should explore more. But even if I have all the gear, that doesn't make the concept of these gauntlet fights any lamer. And another counter-argument to that leads me to number 4, the cocoon system. I wasn't surprised Silksong had its own lost soul mechanic, or angry, or disappointed, just tired. I was tired of it in Bloodborne, my first ever Souls-like, and if you don't count Shovel Knight, which has a similar mechanic that I also hate, I hate the lost soul mechanic. I roll my eyes when I see it in a game where it has no reason to be there. I hated it in Hollow Knight, and I hate it even more here, because even though the Shade fought back and could kill you, at least it had a common courtesy to stay outside of the boss room, so I'm not locked in a fight after retrieving it and potentially losing it again. What has happened many times in Silksong, and the Silk Eaters are just a band-aid on a bullet hole to me. I don't want to use a rare consumable item to get my rosaries back unless it's a platform sequence. I respawn with low health, and the cocoon happened to respawn in a dangerous spot. Sometimes past where you died, what has happened to me at several instances. Like the times I wish the game didn't automatically make me spend a lot of my shards on remaking my tools, which I wish they had made a separate thing in the menu, cause nothing is worse than having to grind for these resources after depleting them. Well, maybe except for number 5, starting Act 3. Now don't misunderstand me, Act 3 was great and a great way to cap off the adventure. It had some of the best bosses the game had to offer, how the world changes due to the story was an incredible way to spice up the exploration, and how every once in a while Grand Milf Silk will roar from the abyss, shaking the entire map and making everything black and white was an ingenious touch. But getting there was beyond infuriating. After beating Silk normally, you get the bad ending and will have to uncover more of the world in order to gain something to get the good ending, like what Hollow Knight did. But Hollow Knight did not lock the deaths behind a side quest which never wanted to show up. I must have spent a dozen hours going across this map trying to find out what I was supposed to do. After a while of nothing happening, I just cracked and looked it up online, which was so deflating because I really didn't want to look up anything in this game. One of the best things about it is the sense of discovery, but I just couldn't take it anymore, and what I found out is that I already did most of the requirements from the guides I consulted insulted. I didn't understand. I beat the final boss. I did most of the side quest. I got every flea. I rubbed your putrid feet. So why won't you give me Act 3? It wasn't until I just randomly rested in Bellheart when the task appeared on the board, so I finally got the Silken Soul quest started. I was so happy, and then disappointed learning it was another collectathon after I spent hours wandering the entire map. And then angry realizing I did Growl the Great way too early. So I finished the quest and redid Silk and got the neutral ending, reloaded my save file, which was really cool, and finally got to start Act 3. Which was another collectathon, leading to an admittedly really fun final boss, but was still just another boss I did twice, with new moves added. And that was what I didn't like about Silksong. Please note throughout this aimless video of me ranting, I never called the game bad. I was as excited as you were when the game launched, and felt the exact same pain you felt when Steam, the eShop, and the PlayStation Store were all crashing. Well, except Xbox. Well, that's mainly because no one plays Xbox. Funny, because they undoubtedly paid Team Cherry the most money to advertise on their platforms. That's all I got. Good night, Follow.